Well, in the video that I made earlier today, I had some jungle juice to celebrate Gamecock women's basketball team beating LSU for the 19th time in a row. And now I'm going to take it because I need just to feel something after what the hell I just watched for the last 2 hours. So, cheers. I promise I don't have a drinking problem. So, goddamn. Texas absolutely curb stomps South Carolina in the SEC championship game by a score of 78-61. This game was never in doubt. Texas had their foot on our necks the entire game. They got out to a 14-0 lead, and that's all she wrote right off the bat. Just a couple minutes in, and this game was over. It sucks. And earlier in this day, I was making a video about the previous game against LSU and how it's better to just get blown out instead of having a really close loss and thinking about that close loss and what you could have done better. But damn, you say that, and then you actually get kicked in the mouth, and you're just bleeding everywhere, and you're embarrassing yourself in front of the country, and it's not fun. It's not fun. Losing is never fun, especially when you have built up this reputation of winning and being successful. I'm not used to watching this team lose, and I'm damn sure not used to watching them lose in embarrassing fashion like this. Now, this isn't really, going to change anything. If you take away that 14-0 run to start the game, we still lose, but we lose by 3 points. And with the uphill battle that South Carolina had to face this entire game, it is commendable that they were at least able to keep it within 20. I mean, Texas had their foot on their necks the entire time. They were dominant. They were closing up all the passing lanes. They were not letting South Carolina get an inch defensively. They were forcing turnovers, getting easy buckets, making the buckets. And from the get-go, this was Texas's game. They came out strong, and it looked like they wanted it more, which is crazy. I don't necessarily think that South Carolina had a hangover from playing LSU last night and, having a big win like that. That wouldn't be in Dawn Staley's, you know, motivation. That she wouldn't go about a game, having her girls prepared. They know what's up. They know, even though that you have girls like Tanaya Latson, Medina Okot, Agat McKeer. There's a lot of girls on this team that haven't gone through what South Carolina has gone through, but girls like Joyce Edwards, Raven and Tessa Johnson, even Mariam Dowda, even though that she's more of a bench piece that kind of gets some garbage time minutes, they do know what this moment is like, and they do know how to react. So I don't think that this was South Carolina not being ready enough. They knew that they had to play 3 games in 3 days, and it's no different than if they were in any other seed. They would have had to win 4 games in 4 days or 5 games in 5 days. If you want to win the SEC tournament, you got to win at least 3 games in 3 straight days. That's how this conference tournament works. They knew what they had to do when they knew what they signed up for, and it didn't work. And you got to give all the credit in the world to Vic Schaefer. Unlike Kim Mulkey, he had an absolutely flawless game plan from the jump. And look, and he's like, "This is a road game," and it's true. They're playing in Greenville. It is technically a neutral site, but it's very close to Columbia, South Carolina, where the Gamecocks play. So you knew that the fans were going to be into it, and you got to give all the credit to the fans that were there because this game was there was like a time where like they got it to like 9 points and you thought that maybe South Carolina was gonna squeak, to at least make it interesting, but the crowd was really engaged for most of this game, even though that South Carolina just didn't give them a reason to get excited. You could hear the anticipation. They wanted to explode. They wanted to jump out of their seats and cheer, but every time like South Carolina would go on a little run, maybe get some stops, Texas just came back and made their shots. So this is a terrible way to go out. Now luckily we have 2 games at Colonial Life Arena, which I assume is going to be packed and loud, and I do expect South Carolina to win those 2 games. Then, because of this loss, they're probably still a 1 seed, but they're going to have to go all the way to Sacramento. And now with this win, Texas essentially has home field advantage throughout, or home court advantage throughout the entirety of March Madness up until the Final Four and national championship, which will be in Phoenix, because they're going to be playing their first 2 rounds in Austin, Texas, at home at the Moody Center. Then their regional games, the Sweet 16 and Elite 8, are going to be in Fort Worth, which is right by Dallas. So they're not going to have to move out of the state of Texas until the Final Four, which, they had a technically kind of like a pseudo road neutral site game. Now they get to experience that on their side. And is Vic Schaefer going to start complaining about how it's unfair to other teams that they have to play in Fort Worth, which is so close to Austin? I doubt it. I don't think that he's going to be like, yeah, it's a good win, but you know what? It's not right that we play so close to home. No, he's going to be happy just like everybody else in the Texas world is going to be happy. And this you got to give a huge shout out to the Texas defense because they absolutely put a clamp on this South Carolina offense. 2 points from Medina Okot. There is no world and there's no game that's going to happen in which Medina Okot scores 2 points and South Carolina is going to win that game. It's just not going to happen. She is too important and integral to this offense. Joyce Edwards averages almost 20 points a game. They held her under her season average 13 points, which is what I said you would have to do if you wanted to beat South Carolina. You'd have to take out Okot and, more importantly, Joyce Edwards. If you get Joyce Edwards off of her game, you have a really good shot at winning, and that's exactly what happened in this game. Tessa Johnson, we're waiting for tournament Tessa. Who can guard Tessa? Turns out Texas can guard Tessa. In just 18 minutes, she put up 8 points, which, isn't bad for the amount of time that she was on the floor. But again, when Tessa Johnson's only scoring 8 points, you're not going to be successful. Tanaya Latson just wasn't able to really get any shots off. She only had 4 points, and Raven Johnson had 9. So the two former high school high school teammates combined for 13 points in this one, which is obviously not a great recipe for success, especially when Raven just came off a career high against LSU. This was just a dog shit game by South Carolina. There's no 2 ways about it. There's no way to slice and dice it. Texas came out. They were the more physical team. They were the more aggressive team. Looked like they wanted it more. And South Carolina was just flat. Does this mean that the season is over? I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but there is clearly a blueprint for beating this South Carolina team. If you're able to take away Joyce Edwards and Medina Okot, you're going to have a lot of success. And the best way, obviously, is to beat them is to keep them off the board. The more points that South Carolina scores, the better chance South Carolina has at winning that game. If you want to beat them, you're going to have to limit those scoring opportunities. I don't think that they're a better team than UConn. I don't think that they're a better team than UCLA. It showed today they lost 2 out of 3 to Texas. I don't think that they're a better team than Texas. South Carolina is going to win their first 2 games at Colonial F Arena. I think that's really not a hot take at all. Their next 2 games, depending on how it shakes up, they will be favored. They will have to go on the other side of the country to Sacramento. But if these girls want to win a championship, that's what's going to have to happen. They fucked around by losing this game, and they're going to find out now that their path is just a little bit more difficult. Going obviously to Texas, it's a long way from South Carolina, but it's a hell of a lot better than going to Sacramento. So they made their bed. Now they're going to have to lay in it. I think that at best, this is a Final Four team. I don't expect them to really be competing with the likes of, like I said, UCLA, UConn, and Texas. And look, who knows? They could be on upset alert. Like I said, they don't have a particularly deep bench. If you're able to clamp up Joyce Edwards, you have a chance. This team almost lost to Kentucky in the regular season. This team lost to Oklahoma in the regular season, who went nuclear in that overtime period when Aaliyah Chavez just went crazy. So, I would say that they should go to the Final Four, but if they don't even make it that far, I don't think it's that crazy of a thing to say. Granted, I am making this video fresh off of an embarrassing loss on national television in the SEC championship game, but anything can happen. It is March. But that does it for this video. If you like this content, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you know when I post. If you want to follow me on social media, follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at Kevin Blakicki. Thank you, and we'll see you again next time.